today's episode of Confidence and Creativity, we are talking with LaToya Faustin. She is an entrepreneur, a leader, a nonprofit founder, has done almost every career and worked in every sector you can imagine, corporate, private, nonprofit. And she is here to share with us all about her leadership journey and also what helps her in her confidence and creativity. Toya, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sam.
Yes, I am so excited to have you. So I'm going to actually let you introduce yourself to the people because your bio is amazing and extensive. So whatever pieces you would like to share, feel free to do so.
Well, hello. I am so ecstatic to be here. I'm with my longtime friend, Sam. My name is LaToya Faustin, and I'm here today as the founder and managing director of StayReady Consulting Solutions. I launched this venture, we can call it, this year as I was in a transition with my employment and really tapped into some of my leadership journey, like you said, and what was I missing, as a leader of a nonprofit, as a, supporter of small businesses, entrepreneurial environments. What, was that key that could have helped me go to the next level? And I honed in on what that was and launched Stay Ready. And because there's that little adage that says, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so how could I do solutions for nonprofits and small businesses with capacity building, cultural competency, project management, program coordination and development? And Stay Ready was launched, and we have been going fast and furious since January. And most recently, I've taken on the role as Chief Operating Officer for She Built This City. It is a nonprofit here in Charlotte, North Carolina, focused on sparking interest in the trades for young girls and career-choosing women. There's so many other things we could include from my background in education, degrees in business, but my love for the community and seeing us get to the next level together. Because I think, there are already those who achieve, but what does it look like to create access and pathways for all of us along the way?
Yes, definitely. That was a wonderful, wonderful intro. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to unpack that, everyone, because I know you're like, wow, that was a lot. So we are going to unpack that. So I have known Toya for several years now. We actually went to college together at Elon University, studied the same major. We were both corporate communications majors. Toya also had to be extra and do Spanish as well. So was that a double major you did?
Yes.
Did you major in both? Yes, she was a double major in corporate communications and Spanish, which is so awesome. Props for that. And you studied abroad. You studied abroad for a while, right?
Yeah. I studied for 5 months in Spain.
Yeah. So she's bilingual as well. So she is all of the things. So I really wanted to have her on to really just first talk about just your leadership journey, Toya. So just starting out in college and, how did you develop? I've always personally seen you as a leader. And I know there's so many different definitions of leadership and who's a leader, who's not, how do you feel ready to lead? How do you move from being an individual contributor to leading and managing teams? So could you just talk a little bit about, what your philosophy of leadership has been and how that's developed over time?
That's an excellent question, Sam. I think if I were to summarize my leadership philosophy, it would be servant leadership. And I never set out, leadership wasn't my focus. It was like how do I become a leader? It was how do I serve? How do I help people? Yeah. And oftentimes that led to leadership roles. And if I were to trace my key influences on who I wanted to be in the leadership space, it would start at Elon. I was with the Office of Multicultural Affairs and LaToya Richmond. I would consider her my first real mentor in the space of what it means to lead through influence. She set up what is now this big institution at Elon. It was her. And it was then her and an intern and then her and me really navigating systems. And I learned through example of what it means to advocate. So I would say that's another philosophy is advocacy,
Mm-hmm.
being a voice for those who either have not found their voice yet or do not feel their voice is powerful. So I think a combination between wanting to serve and help and then advocating and wanting to be able to show up, at the table for those who may not feel that they have access or who have been blocked, quite frankly, from getting access to the table. And so I think that is actually what led me to study Spanish. And then leaving Elon, I joined Teach for America. It's an education nonprofit that was focused on closing the achievement gap. So regardless of where you're born, you have the access to high quality education. And so Teach for America sent me to Texas. I was on the border of Texas and Mexico for 3 years teaching high school English. And there is where my true heart for community development and the role leadership then began to take place. From that perspective was born in me, because I thought, very narrowly, as we all do out of college, I can change the world and it's going to take just this one thing. If I just go here and do this, boom, fixed. And so I thought teaching was it. And so went to the border, El Valle, and had an amazing experience, a very hard experience of what it means to be a minority woman amongst a minority. And had to overcome a lot of barriers, but most significantly and importantly, my students had great success. I mean, they grew, gained confidence, but at the end of my commitment there, I had to really reflect, what had I changed for them specifically? Yes, they might have gotten an A in my class, but what outside of these 4 walls has really changed for them? And my answer was not much, if any. And that is where I realized that, to see true change, to see true empowerment of a community, of a people, it has to happen outside of the classroom. And that, I would say, would be the red thread through my journey of trying to find, well, what is it? What is it that empowers people? I thought it was education. Education is definitely a component, but it's not it. I thought it was support the community around the schools. So if we all just rallied around the schools and supported teachers like they needed, that would change it. Realize soon that no, it's actually, if we don't help the parents of those kids, that child's life does not change, nor does that family. And so what does that look like to help a parent? That looks like workforce development, access to jobs that have livable wages, affordable housing, a place that you can live that does not take up more than 30% of your income. And then healthy living, through whether it's access to health insurance or access to healthy, affordable foods. That if those things are not addressed, I don't care what we do inside of a classroom, we're not going to see true change as a community. And so
that's good.
That has been sort of like my journey of trying to find, like, what is the answer? What is the answer? And it lands me now to being with She Built This City that's focusing on the trades. I would say, you and I are both proud degree holders, from Elon University, 4 years of a private school that comes with a hefty tag, a price tag. I think our generation is realizing that we might have loved our college experience, but if we're still getting the phone calls from, who is it, Sally Mae? Calls for that loan, or is that, who is it, Fannie Mae? Somebody may calling about, student loans and the debt we go into to achieve these careers that does not always equate to the salary you then get.
Right, that's so true.
And so we have college students graduating with these 4-year degrees, trying to achieve the American dream, no disrespect, working at call centers or even fast food places, in no way in what they studied or making enough money to adequately buy houses,
right?
Delaying marriage because they can't afford it. So the trades is where I landed and said, you don't need a 4-year degree to have a good wage. A plumber makes $80,000 a year.
Wow. I actually didn't know that.
And so one of the certifications we're working with is forklift drivers. A forklift driver, after that certification, can make $30 an hour, walk into any warehouse.
Wow.
$30 an hour. And so these are very noble, strong, livable wages, more than livable wages, careers that are available that I say for decades have shunned as like blue collar work that, we don't want to do. But look at us. Look at us, where are we? And so really just my philosophy while I was a teacher and now is, I'm never going to make someone's choice for them or force them to choose, but you will know all your options and you will make an educated choice for yourself. And so working in this pathway right now is what drives me to ensure that people, specifically people of color, know their options, and that what's been laid out for you may not be the best option for you and your family, and you have choices.
Yeah, no, I think you made such excellent points there, Toya, because I think that now, especially now, one of the advantages of the way that our economy is growing, and I mean, it's been challenging in a lot of ways, but
Yes.
I think it's really also let people know, there is no straight path. So there is no, you get this 4-year degree, you get this 6-figure salary automatically, and you're just going to have this job for 30 years, 40 years. Like, I mean, now corporations who are, supposed to be the thing that everybody is going to, they are the first ones to get rid of you, and they will not care. They will not give you notice. They will not give you a warning. If their budget goes below a certain amount, you are gone. I mean, I have been in the situations where I've just seen, people in the middle of their workday gone. Like they start the workday, like nothing's going to happen. And then in the middle of the workday, they're gone. Their email does not work. Their phone does not work. Nothing. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really the way that our economy has gone now. It's really shown people that, there is more than one way to be, to make a living wage, to have security. I mean, because there's no such thing, honestly, as job security if someone else is dictating, whether they need you or whether they don't. And so no matter what the path is that you take, I think that it is, like you said, really good to know the options that you do have. So even if you start out going in one direction, if something happens and you need to pivot to something else, what is it that you do? What talents and skills do you have? And also to know that corporate is not the only solution. It's not the only option. 4-year degrees are not the only solution and only option, especially like you said, if you're going to wind up with so much more debt, at the end of it, and that can take you decades to pay off, even with a salary job. So, so I definitely think that is a level of education that people do need to have and know. Because I mean, I definitely didn't know that a plumber could make $80,000 a year. I mean, I had no idea.
Everybody's home right now.
Yeah.
It's essential. All those trades, they're all, they did not stop.
Very true. Very true. Yes, because I mean, honestly, if you're just behind your computer all day, that is disposable. Like, unless you are, doing something to save people's lives, I mean, really, it's disposable. And so it really means that you need to have a variety of tools under your belt so that you can shift and move and pivot. And so, I'm not relying on this one thing or this one source or this one path, because at any point I may have to pivot to something else. And I don't think in college doesn't really prepare you for that. I mean, I'm actually hoping that now, I'm hoping the curriculums and the experiences will be changing, because, when we were in school, it was just kind of like, you go, you get your grades, you maybe study abroad if you're fortunate enough to do that. And, have some internships, and everything's just going to be great. Like they didn't say, like, what do you do if your job, doesn't need you anymore? What do you do if, this salary is not exactly, what you need to pay off? I mean, nobody talked about paying off loans. I mean, you just were like, thought it was going to magically work out when you graduated. So, I think it's just, I'm hoping that for, the colleges and universities that do continue to provide to provide those more traditional educations, that there are some more innovation into the curriculum, and just allowing people to be able to experiment and be more creative, because life is not taking tests and passing classes and getting degrees. I mean, it's just not.
You're absolutely right, Sam. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the creativity, or what we would call innovation. Like, I think if it's going to be, a curriculum around it, there's no answer you can give anyone. Is teaching them how to think. And like you said, how to pivot and how to survive, in what it means to reinvent yourself
Yes.
if you have to. And so I think that thinking component, and I will give shout outs to the liberal arts colleges that do sometimes provide those platforms. But it's no one who prepared for this pandemic. Like,
yeah.
ooh, what curriculum,
Yep.
was in store to how do you survive, in a national, not even to mention the racism that our country is exposing. I can't even say that just came about. No, it's been here, but just
right.
the level at which the vitriol with which it's being exposed, and is who prepares for this, And so I think just mental health, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and innovation. Like if whatever curriculum you study, if they have those components, that to me is the key to survival, regardless of the content.
Yeah.
Those pieces and those practices are what can truly sustain the individual.
Yes, definitely. So now, Toya, let's just go a little bit more into your own personal journey. And you said just starting out, really learning leadership at Elon. What was there a point for you? Like, were you always kind of like just one of those people that were like, I'm going to be the president of this, like whatever it is, I'm leading it, I'm taking it. Like, did you always kind of have that go-getter mentality, or did you have to kind of build up to that? Like, how did that, I guess, positional leadership look for you?
That's an excellent question. And as you're speaking, I'm trying to reflect on, like, was I that, like, let me at him? I don't think, I think what it is about me, I have always been in leadership positions. I have always been in leadership. But it wasn't out of a desire just to lead. It really was out of a desire to help and to see an absence of leadership or the absence of a system that would help something. So for instance, trying to think of an example with when I was in high school, running for junior class treasurer. This sounds so bad, but it's the truth, is because the person who was running I didn't think was fit. And so, like, I had no desire. Like, I wasn't like, let me run for this. But I said, oh, that's who's running? Absolutely not. Let me step in.
Well, that means you running for president this year too?
But that has really been sincerely, if I were to trace like where it is, I never go into a thing to say, I'm going to lead this. It's I'll join to support or to help. It's because I'm passionate about. And then over time, it's like, well, this needs to be done. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Be done. Let me handle it. You know what? Let me just run this.
That is funny. Sometimes the best way you can help is to get in the game all the way.
But I will say this. One of the later leadership lessons that I had that caused me to pursue executive directorship in nonprofits, I was in an organization and I was leading programs. And if you would have asked me, 8 to 10 years ago, my sweet spot, I would have said leading programs, creating programs. I love people. I love being with the kids and their families. That was my sweet spot. I could like make it happen real quick. And so the ED role came open and they asked me to apply. I said, absolutely not. I don't want to deal with that fundraising and the corporate people and stuff. Give me the kids, give me the parents. That's my lane. So I was like, I don't want that. And then the person that they hired did an abysmal job. And I'm not just saying that as like a backseat driver. The organization no longer exists in Charlotte. Like they did a horrible job. And I had to really self-reflect and say, never again, will an opportunity present itself in something that I care about that I will not step up to lead, even if it's outside of my sweet spot. Because all day, heart trumps skill. You can always learn skill. You can never learn heart. Heart has to be grown through experiences. And so that taught me, never again, if there's an opportunity to lead something that I love, I'm doing it. And so that, I would say, shifted my view of leadership. So at that point, then Sam, then I began to pursue leadership opportunities. Before I was like, do what I love, I'm going to serve.
Yeah.
But that taught me the hard lesson of like, I will never relinquish control again over something I care about that much. I will step up to the plate. So
That's
that's
good.
that pivot change for me.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit more because at least for me, it seems that sometimes, especially when you're talking about, and I want to use the term positional leadership, because I do think that everybody does lead in some capacity,
Yes.
whether you're an individual contributor or you have an executive level role, you are providing influence in some way. But
Yes.
when it comes to really those positional titles and different things, sometimes it seems like there is so many barriers, especially for women, especially for Black women, and really making you feel like you do need these hundreds and hundreds of skills and hundreds of hours of learning and proving yourself and all of that before you can step in to this leadership role. So what do you think is the balance? Because I do understand that there is a point where you do need to learn and you do need to gain knowledge of whatever industry that you're in. But do you think that there is, kind of too much, or kind of a false concept of how much preparation you need just to kind of keep that barrier? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'll make a joke first and then I'll be serious.
Okay.
But look who's running our country, and how qualified was he for that position? And did his lack of qualification stop him from running, or his supporters from supporting, or for him to continue to do things that make no sense and actually are against the law?
Real.
So
that's real.
Absolutely, Sam. We and I would say, as women, as people of color, second, we put up barriers that don't exist for ourselves of entry. There's studies that show, for a job, when there's a job requirements, men will look at that, and I want to say they have 40% of what that job description says, they apply for it. Women feel like we have to check off every single thing. We won't apply. We won't even put our hat in the ring.
Yep.
Check off all those things. And that is what we sometimes hold ourselves back, because we think we have to be ready. We have to be perfect to take on that role. I mean, the truth is you do not have to be. Now that's internal. There are some systemic, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge, there are some systemic barriers for both women and people of color. Women of color often come up as low man on the totem pole, and even me saying the word man, low woman on the totem pole, with opportunities. So I don't want to diminish the power systemic barriers have for us, but even within that, Sam, we limit ourselves. And I've experienced, unfortunately, where other people, sometimes people of color, will try to diminish me. I'll give an example. One of my previous roles was as the executive director of a community development corporation, and I applied for the executive director role. I got the interview and was offered the position. But when they offered me the position, they said, one of the panelists think that you are too young to have the title of executive director, so can we just call you the director?
Oh, wow.
And I said, absolutely not. What did I apply for, and what are you hiring me for? It is the executive director. So yeah, so when you were saying what makes that, first of all, don't limit yourself, go for that dream. All they can do is tell you, no, don't be afraid of rejection. It's a learning experience.
Yeah. And
then advocate for yourself. You know what you're worth. And I think there's also, I don't know if it's the woman in us, sometimes it's the Judeo-Christian, let other people praise you, don't you praise yourself mentality, that we can walk in, where we say, well, let them tell me, what my salary will be. Let them tell me what my title is. No, you know your worth better than anyone else. And if you wait for someone to see your value first, you're going to be waiting forever. So you name your salary, you name your position, and you go after it until it's yours. And so I think there's a lot of dynamics there that sometimes hold us back, some internal, some external, but you got to go for it.
Yeah. No, that is such great advice, because I've definitely seen that, where it's just, we are told, oh, we don't think you're ready, or you're not. And sometimes, I mean, even not necessarily even from the places where we are trying to get to, but sometimes even mentors and advisors, like parents, wherever our support is coming from, sometimes even they, meaning well, will say,
Right.
oh, you're not quite ready for this. We see that
Mm-hmm.
you have talents here and here, but, let's just give it a couple more years, and it's kind of, everybody has, well, not everybody, but some people have this picture of what a leader looks like in their head.
Exactly.
And a lot of times, I mean, for me, I guess if I had to create a stereotype of a Black woman leader, it would probably be somebody who was in their 50s,
Right.
to be honest. Like anything
Right.
younger than that is, young women, still not exactly knowledgeable or experienced enough yet.
Right.
And you
Yes.
kind of have that narrative until you hit, this 50-ish year mark. And
Yeah.
now you're like, okay, now you have 30 years of experience. So now you can say something.
Right.
And and I'm just realizing as I'm challenging myself,
Yeah.
as I am, just being open to more opportunities and challenging myself to take the initiative on different things where sometimes I still don't feel ready for them, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I've started asking myself, if I don't feel ready now, when am I going to feel ready? And, not to be morbid, but I mean, this whole quarantine, the pandemic, it's
Yeah.
really made me realize nobody knows how much time they have,
You don't.
and so you don't want to be waiting and saying, okay, I'm going to just keep doing this, just kind of living normal for 30 more years. And then when I'm 60, then I will do, all of these other things. And so what I'm really learning and challenging myself is that, every season of life, you want to maximize what you've been given. And
Absolutely.
so you don't have to, and I guess the point here is not saying that you have to go for a positional title or anything, but really just saying whatever that looks like for you, however it is that you are choosing to contribute in the world, you want to do that to your best of your ability and the maximum, and not hide or diminish that because you think you're not ready or someone else tells you that you're not ready yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're 100% right. There is this archetype of what a leader looks like. And there's so many things, as you can tell, I've been reflecting in this quarantine, of where things come from. Mm-hmm. But it's like, as little girls, we're taught typically, don't get in grown folks' business. And there's a time, like we're taught all these like structural ways of being, within the church. We're taught, these people can lead and these people can pray and you sit over here. I think there's all of these subconscious.
Woo! We could have a whole other show about that. but continue.
We take them in, and inadvertently we take them with us to corporate America.
Yes.
And so I'm not in no way judging, these systems and cultures that we grew up in, but I will judge when we take them outside of this institution and we're in corporate America doing the same submissive, let them go peace. Yeah, maybe not the place for that. Like, and I think we have to, and I know we have a similar upbringing, untrain ourselves to what is acceptable in different spaces. And that we cannot speak the same language and use the same body language and the same courtesies that we use maybe in a religious institution in corporate America.
That's real. I mean, I not to get on my own soapbox, but I mean, I even think there are some things in communities of faith that we have said are biblical and they're not. They are just systemic and they are man's ways of keeping control and order in certain areas. And I mean, I will say, like, I definitely have a huge challenge with people saying these people are spiritual and these people are not, and these people can pray and you're just regular. So, but we're not getting into that. That's not what today's show is about.
It's a separate cut. But you call me back. I want to do sure. We'll have that conversation.
Yeah, that might be 2021. I might be ready for that one. But yes, but no, I definitely agree that, you at some point you have to develop your own philosophies and your own perspectives of, okay, yes, I have spent this time learning, I have spent this time developing, and now where can I go contribute? And, I really think the great balance is that really your whole life you should be in a capacity where you're giving and a capacity where you're receiving, because
Yes.
you're never too old to learn. And so we should always have somebody who we're looking and modeling our life after, modeling our journey and saying, okay, this is where I think I want to go next. But then we also should always be giving back. So even when you're you might be in high school, you might be college age, like there's still ways that you can give back and pour
Absolutely.
into other people. And so you're always leading others in some way, and then you're also receiving from others too. And I think that is really just a great way to live. And then that way it's not about certain titles, it's not about certain age, it's just about wherever you are, giving your best there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Toya, what helps you, I guess, just stay grounded? Because you've mentioned probably 5 or 6 roles that you are in right now. So what helps you to kind of stay fresh? How do you stay full of ideas and solutions, like your consulting firm? You said it's StayReady Solutions. So how do you stay ready? How do you keep those ideas coming in so often?
Yeah. I keep saying great question, but no, these are amazing questions. I was just talking to my mom last week about this. One way I stay ready is through engaging with business owners on a regular basis. And so I think within the small business world in particular, you have to be willing, you just said it, you have to give first, usually, to get. And so early part of my business, even now, I do free business consultations, 30 minutes. And they always go over 30 minutes, and they always end with me giving a summary of next steps. And so while that is my time I'm giving a free to this owner, it's one of those things that keeps me on my toes. So whatever your issues are, I'm being exposed to them. And when I research solutions, I now have more things in my arsenal. And so from this small business owner, I've created a 1-page business plan, a really quick one that I did not have before. And from this business owner, I learned, text scheduling, to make simplifying their appointments easier. And so it's like, I have these consultations, I hear their issues, I research, solutions, and I'm able to present it. But what that does for me is it keeps me on my business acumen of what's coming next, because I can get so easily stuck in LaToya's world of what I'm doing and not go outside, because my systems work for me. But now I know this is something that I could use. And so that's one way, through staying fresh and consulting and sometimes giving before you get. And then just staying connected to people like you, whether it's in a professional or personal capacity, networking, just staying connected to people in the industry, whatever industry that may be. It could be current or it could be aspirational. And so I just encourage people to join a networking group, whether it's, nonprofit professionals, with my current organization, National Association of Women in Construction. I mean, there's just different circles that you could be a part of, and it just keeps you fresh. It keeps you fresh on your toes. And I think embracing problems, that would be my third way, is embrace problems, don't run from them, because when you embrace them, I was watching Aesop Fables yesterday with my son, and the adage, necessity is the mother of invention. And so when you lean into your problems, you come up with solutions you never thought could come before. And so
that's good. Yes, no, that's good. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think sometimes there is a temptation to try to avoid challenges and avoid problems, and just saying, okay, if a problem comes up, I'm just going to run the other way and figure out something different. But there definitely is a lesson and a strength that you build when you do lean into those problems and learn to generate solutions. So yeah, that's great.
I'm over here taking notes myself. I don't forget.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Toya, also, something else I wanted you to talk about is just the courage that you've had to speak, because I know that you are someone who does public speaking, and you're sharing your ideas in various platforms. And something that you've done that I really love to talk about is getting media opportunities. A lot of people ask me, Samantha, how do I get in, this magazine, get on this TV show? What do I need to do? And I tell people that you actually can do it yourself. And so I know that you have a couple of examples of ways that you've been able to position yourself for different opportunities, whether they're speaking engagements or being featured in different media outlets. So could you just talk a little bit about that and kind of how you got to that point?
Absolutely. And so as someone who came from the corporate communications background as well, we prepare for this theoretically, in school, whether it's through the public relations courses or the public speaking. It's different when you're out here in the real world, and
Yes.
you're on platforms and you want to get your message out there. And I would say one of my first opportunities here in 2020 came from the pandemic. I am in a mother's group on Facebook, and a mom who happens to be the editor of a magazine said, "Hey, I'm looking for stories about women and mothers and how they're coping during this." And I was like, "Hey."
Wow, nice.
And I think just to, I guess, roll back my thought process is it was for my business. Like, yes, I'll speak about what it means to be a single mother through this pandemic. But I'm going to rope in that I launched a business, and this is what the business
That's
is.
good.
And so I would say looking for opportunities for exposure that don't necessarily line up directly
Yes.
with what you think it is, but if you can incorporate it, even if it's not that first time, if it's that second time. So whether it's helping a friend out or doing your own platforms, whether it's via YouTube, Facebook Live, StreamYard, there's all kinds of platforms where if you have a message, something to share, and we all do, our voice is authentic, share it. And so
Yes.
that has been a platform. And then started writing blogs about, my experiences. I have two separate platforms. One Mama LaToya is where I just talk about what it was like, homeschooling my 4-year-old and taking my education background and applying it to him. And then StayReady. I started writing, just op-ed style pieces around what I'd learned to be in this nonprofit space and what things hinder us as small business owners as well. And so those are platforms I helped to create on my own. And then people see those and they're like, "Hey, talk about that."
Yes.
Talk about that.
So you heard it from a business owner herself, everyone. So I'm so glad that you said that, because that is something that I tell people all the time, is that, first of all, what you were speaking about is really what we call in public relations pitch angles. So really saying, okay, how can I speak about myself in different ways and still, let people know that I am a business owner, but I might not be giving, the 5 steps to the best nonprofit organization. Like, I might not be giving, these strategic tips here and there in every single outlet. But, even as I'm talking about myself as a single mom, as I'm talking about myself as, a homeschooling mom, whatever it is, whatever those pieces of yourself that you have, if you want to talk about yourself from, your faith and what you believe, what's helped you, during this season, there's just so many facets of your life. And I think that it's really a blessing to realize those and really see those as different angles and different avenues where you can have exposure. Because, so many people just say, well, I have to get on this certain show, or I have to get on this certain platform, in order to be, deemed significant, or to, say I made it, but really, I like what you said, because you have showed how you've been open to just a variety of different avenues, and you've been able to share your expertise on a lot of different platforms, and also creating some of your own. And because of that work, going both ways, that you've gotten more visibility because people have seen what you've done, and you've gotten more opportunities from that.
Absolutely, Sam. And one other thing that I would say, I saw a post this week that says, likes don't mean customers. And so I think sometimes when you're starting in the social media space, you're putting things out there, you may not get the number of likes, to feel encouraged by it. That doesn't mean anything. You don't know who's watching. You have no
That's
idea
good.
who's watching you, who is listening to you, and who is just waiting for the moment to engage with you. That's actually how I was offered the role with She Built This City. I had launched StayReady, I had several clients working hard, and someone who I met back in January had been watching me from a distance on these platforms, going and pushing and grinding and celebrating you have to celebrate yourself. You really
You
do. And your
do.
wins.
Yes.
And I get an email. I'm thinking is because she wants to be a client. She wants me to help her with something. And it was, no, I want you to lead this organization.
Wow.
Yeah, no resume, no interview. It was, I've seen what you can do.
That's amazing.
Come help us. And so never once did she like a post or anything, but you just never know who's watching. And so I would say, create that platform, toot your own horn, celebrate your successes, and, what's meant for you will come to you. You just have to keep at it, and don't be discouraged by the lack of visual engagement. It does not mean people are not actually engaging and listening and respecting the work that you're putting out there.
Yes, that is so good. That is such great encouragement. And yeah, I have even had to tell myself that as I have been working on this show and,
Yes.
Building it slowly, very slowly but surely. And, a lot of times you don't know who watches, and
Right.
you definitely can't. And that's why people say, you don't do it for the likes, you do it for you, and you do it for the love of what you want to contribute to the world. And as you keep doing that, like you said, the right people will see it. So yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess any advice that you would give to anyone who might just be trying to figure out what leadership means for them, what it looks like, and just kind of how to own their voice in a greater way, what advice would you give them?
I would say, to your point earlier, leadership does not necessarily mean positional leadership. And I equate a lot of leadership styles to love languages. If you are familiar with Gary Chapman's The 5 Love Languages, whether it's, gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, I forget quality time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think those are direct correlations with people's leadership styles. And so if you are in a position to give someone words of encouragement, do that. If that's what you feel like you like to do that.
Yeah.
Turn that into the blog, turn that into, the memes that you can generate to get words out there. If it is acts of service, that's what you are naturally good at. Is that what you do to fill your bucket to help other people? Then that is an opportunity to lead, through giving. So I would say tap into what your natural energies are, what fills your bucket, what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And that to me translate directly to a leadership style, whether it's, gifts, giving, that can come in many different ways, shape, form, or fashions. You can lead through giving. And we need people leading through giving right now, especially.
Yes.
So I would say, you don't have to go outside of yourself to be a leader. And I think that's what people get scared
That's
about.
good.
It's like, well, I have to be this other person if I'm going to be a leader. No, lean into you and what you're good at and what fills your bucket, what makes you happy. That is your natural gift. Turn that into a platform and you can move forward from there.
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I definitely think that is a great note to end on. Toya, thank you so much for your time and for your words of wisdom. I definitely hope that this episode helps so many people who are watching. I just thank you so much for giving that advice, and definitely don't want to end without letting people know where they can find you and where they can follow you, and also what type of clients that you help in case anyone needs your support.
Absolutely. And so I'm on Instagram, Facebook at StayReady Consulting Solutions. If you happen to want to follow the lifestyle version of me, it's at Mama LaToya on both Instagram and Facebook. And what kinds of clients am I looking for? It's really any business owner, whether it's small. I realize I can also do medium-sized businesses. And you want to take your business to the next level, or you have a gap that you need to be fulfilled. we can discuss that as me as a thought partner. It doesn't have to be a long-term relationship. Sometimes you just need someone to bounce ideas off of. I'm a good idea bouncer. Or it's a solution that you need to fulfill a gap to take your business to the next level. And so on my website, StayReady.Solutions, contact us, sign up for one of those free consultations, and we can have a nice conversation.
Excellent. All right. Well, you know where to follow LaToya, and I'll make sure that I drop all her information below in the show notes so that you can take a look at her platforms and keep up with everything that she is doing. And I realized that I need to tell people where to follow me because I have not been doing that. Somebody watched it, they were like, Samantha, how are people going to find you if you never tell them? So today, I am telling you where to follow me. So I am Samantha McCoy. I am the CEO of MissionKey Communications, and I provide public relations and writing and consulting solutions for business owners and entrepreneurs. So you can follow me at smccoyjoy. That is my personal Instagram, SMCCOY Joy. So you can follow me there. And also my business website is MissionKeyCommunications.com. And if you need any tips on getting media opportunities like Toya did, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help you and help you get your visibility and exposure, just helping increase. So thank you again, Toya, for joining us today. And I look forward to learning more and hearing more about what you do, and wish you the best.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.